Good morning. Good morning. Am I heard? Oh, wow, what a big day. So a lot of emotions, clearly. I want to make sure I get the basics down here. Good morning, and thank you for being here as we mark the opening of the San Quentin Learning Center. Today is an important milestone for this institution. It reflects progress, commitment, and the direction we are moving. The San Quentin Rehabilitation Center is the oldest prison in California. Built in the 1800s during a very different era of corrections. What we open today is how the mission has evolved. The Learning Center reflects our focus on accountability, restoration, and public safety. These classrooms, recording studios, collaborative spaces, cafe and reentry areas, designed intentionally. Education and preparation are central to the work happening here at San Quentin. The purpose of this center is to prepare the incarcerated population for successful reentry into the community with education, job skills, and a plan. Public safety begins inside these walls. When individuals leave prepared, communities are safer. Accountability and rehabilitation work together. Security remains our foundation, and preparation for release strengthens long-term public safety. The center was also designed with staff in mind. Professional workspaces and break areas reflect the understanding that staff wellness directly supports institutional safety and performance. I want to thank our custody staff, healthcare, program staff, plant operations teams, administrative professionals who contributed to bringing this vision forward. I also want to thank the labor partners for their engagement and continued support. Progress here requires collaboration and a shared commitment. I'm grateful for the support of the Governor's Office, executive leadership, and headquarters partnerships who have helped make this day possible. The real measure of success will be full classrooms, certifications earned, and individuals leaving here better prepared to contribute to society. We are proud of this milestone, and we are committed to continue this work. Thank you all very much. Please welcome Jason Johnson, Undersecretary of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
Good morning. CDCR Secretary Jeff McCumber is away on a long trip this week, so I'm honored to be here to represent CDCR today and on his behalf. The establishment of this new rehabilitative center marks a pivotal step toward fostering genuine transformation in our correctional system. We have not just rebuilt walls, but we are constructing pathways to restoration and rehabilitation for those in our care. This project is part of a holistic initiative that leverages international data-backed best practices to improve the well-being of those who live and work at state prisons. The initiative's goal is creating safer communities and a better way of life for all Californians by breaking cycles of crime for the incarcerated population while improving the workplace conditions for institution staff. CDCR would like to thank everyone for their hard work with this project, especially the San Quentin Advisory Council for their invaluable input shaping this new rehabilitative center. It is through collaborative efforts like these that we can make meaningful progress towards successful return and reintegration of individuals within our justice system to the community. I would like to next introduce Mr. Daryl Steinberg, the San Quentin Advisory Council Leader Advisor.
Here we go. Thank you so much, Mr. Undersecretary. I want to begin, because I was honored the governor asked me to be his lead advisor, to thank the Advisory Council, who worked so hard over so many months. And I know several members are here. One of the co-chairs, Doug Bond from Amity, who did a wonderful job. Dr. Bree Williams, who I'm not sure is here, and Ron Broomfield, and Scott Budnick is here. And of course, you're going to hear from Chris Redlands, but everybody who participated, a huge thank you. And another thank you to Ann Patterson, who was our liaison and our partner every step of the way. Thank you, Ann. So there's obviously another person I want to begin by thanking, and that is Governor Newsom, for your willingness once again to act with boldness and with clarity. Today's historic opening is a testament to your insistence that accountability, compassion, and smart policy must always go together. And for the people of California, the San Quentin Rehabilitation Center represents an even broader definition of justice. For what is justice? When people commit a crime, accountability is appropriate. At the same time, no human being who serves time should ever be forgotten or forsaken. And this is not partisan, soft, or ideological. What you are doing here, what you created here, is effective public safety. It's humane and it's common sense. Most residents of this center and in every other more traditional correctional facility in California will return to their communities after they serve their time. Will they come home safely with an opportunity to work and contribute to the lives of their families and neighborhoods? Seems that the answer is in our hands, and the answer is right here. For what is justice? Again, the answer will lie right here in what you've created here, in the hard work and the miracles that will happen in this magnificent building. This center must be a model and will be a model for our state and for our nation. Before the advisory committee and council was constituted by the governor, San Quentin, and thank you, Chancellor, thank you, Warden Chance, for your leadership. San Quentin was already the center of great programming. We know that. Dedicated staff, hundreds of volunteers. Governor, your advisory task force worked hard to help identify all the new opportunities at San Quentin. And at this center, we tackled everything from dynamic security to strengthening the relationship between correctional officers and residents, from more programming to the move towards single celling to re-entry beds, Amity and Doug Bond, within and outside this center, and better technology to better manage all the new opportunities. This is fabulous. I remember somebody asked me, one of the architects asked me when we were starting, do we want concrete or do we want this? Look at what the answer was. This is, of course, only a start. For today represents something else in addition to justice. For all the people who live and work here at San Quentin and for the people of California, this is also hope. It is hope for second chances. It's hope for safer communities. It's hope for proving success in changing the system beyond these walls. And it's hope in a very confusing time that we can still aspire to the best of ourselves and the best of our common values. I'm honored to have been a part of this. Thank you very much. CCPOA and all the labor groups, especially CCPOA, played a big part in the work of the Advisory Council, and we're very supportive. And I want to introduce Steve Adney, the Executive Vice President of the California Correctional Peace Officers Association. Steve?
Good morning. Today marks an important step in support of San Quentin and brings hope for the future of corrections in California. This new learning center is more than bricks and mortar. For correctional officers, this center reflects an investment in the hard work and culture created here in this facility. San Quentin was chosen for a reason. The custody staff, the free staff, numerous volunteers in the community, and the incarcerated population are willing to do the work. With the opening of the new Learning Center, our members will continue to meet these challenges with grace and dignity that have historically been foundational blocks of San Quentin. To continue the progress in rehabilitation requires the right tools and sustained investment. This approach is grounded in a simple idea. Safer correctional institutions are built through accountability, structured programming, and meaningful engagement. Our officers remain peace officers first. Safety and security are non-negotiable, but we know better than anybody that when an incarcerated individual are ready to change and have access to education, job training, and counseling, the population is more stable and violence can decline. Done right, it improves working conditions for our officers and strengthens public safety. This Learning Center creates dedicated space for evidence-based programming, workforce preparation, and education. It supports a correctional environment that is orderly, professional, and focused on results. It also makes clear that real change depends on continued support. If we want better outcomes, we must keep investing in facilities, staffing, and training, and make those outcomes possible. This building is a reminder that California can set the standard when we stay committed and follow through. Correctional officers will continue to provide the safety and security that supports the culture that has made San Quentin what it is today. And with that, I would like to introduce San Francisco District Attorney Burke Jenkins.
Good morning. I am so honored to be here and to be standing in this new facility. For the last 2.5 years, I have spent a considerable amount of time along with my office here at San Quentin, engaging in symposiums, attending programs, and speaking with residents about what we can do to reform both the criminal justice system, engage in intervention and prevention work on the outside, and what we can do to improve their opportunities for rehabilitation inside of this institution. And I just have to say, Governor, thank you so much for this investment that you made. When you think of who would be here celebrating, most people would not think that a district attorney would be one of the people. But just as Mr. Steinberg said, this is about public safety. So many of the residents here will and should get the opportunity to come back to us outside. And what we want more than anything is for them to come back whole, for them to be able to gain the insight and the knowledge and the preparation to be successful when they have the opportunity to be released. And a part of setting them up for the opportunity to be released is giving them the resources to work on themselves. And so that's what this is about, giving them not only a beautiful building, but what will be poured inside of it and what will happen inside of it is something that so many of them lacked in their communities that they came from and that led them on a path to end up here in this institution. And I have seen the tremendous amount of work that they do each and every day. There are some of the smartest people you will meet in this very place. And so I am just so honored to be here to support an endeavor that will promote not only public safety within San Quentin, but for every single community that each of these residents will be released back into. Because when they thrive, our communities thrive. And so I know that finances are not easy in this state, and there are so many demands on the governor's office to provide resources in every direction. And so, Governor, I think your commitment to making sure that resources are given to those who deserve a second chance really represents what our core values are, what our San Francisco values are, that you know so very well, because that is what is going to change our communities inside and out, is making sure that we return people into their whole selves and back to us where they can rejoin and help us in the struggle that we have to ensure that the next generation does not end up here. Thank you. And I am happy to introduce now Tanish Hollins, the Executive Director of Californians for Safety and Justice.
Good morning, everyone. I have to say that standing in this building is a surreal feeling. To be a survivor who had the privilege of participating on the advisory committee, and over the last 5 years, walking into this facility, sitting in circle with folks who are residents here, telling my story and hearing their stories, I've watched slowly as these buildings have been erected over time and wondered what it would be like to actually walk in and step in the physical manifestation of the conversations that we had. It is powerful. It is powerful, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have had the privilege of being someone who was personally impacted, a victim of crime, being in a conversation about how to design what accountability looks like, not just for me and my family, although I may never see the kind of justice that most people think about in a traditional sense, but to think about what accountability and rehabilitation look like for our future safety, for the safety of my children, for the safety of all of our children and communities moving forward. And to be a part of that conversation with folks who worked as correction staff, folks who have been in these facilities educating and working to help people improve their lives and build their self-awareness, and to be in that conversation with folks who at one point were residents in this very facility. To stand here and know that there was a firm commitment to shifting the priorities of this state, because it's not just about the accountability of the individual, it's about the accountability of the state to make rehabilitation real, to make safety real. This was a smart investment. It is an investment that will pay off in the future in perpetuity, and I am so grateful and so honored to have been here. For any of you who may get this news and be gaslighted by the rhetoric about California being too soft, I urge you to think about the years that we've invested putting people into state prisons and whether or not our communities have gotten any safer. This is an opportunity for us to demonstrate, not just here in California, but to the rest of the country, how we improve public safety over time by giving people access to the education, to the support, and the resources that they deserve. And they shouldn't have to come to state prison to get it, but I'm glad that it's here. I want to thank you, Governor Newsom, for your consistency, because it didn't start when you became governor of California. I was privileged, because I'm a native of San Francisco, to work with you and know that this commitment has been long-standing. And I'm grateful to everyone else here who followed that leadership, who were inspired by this vision and knew that we could do something different. And I'm proud to be here with you all today. I would like to invite up Chris Redlitz, the co-founder of The Last Mile.
Thanks a lot. As a member of the advisory committee, it's a proud moment to be here, and I really want to appreciate the governor's inspired vision and his unwavering support. It's a pretty amazing thing that 2.5 years ago we sat with a blank canvas, and here we are today, and it's just a testament to everyone who's been part of this project. The construction folks, the design folks, it's just incredible that you can hit a timeline. We're actually ahead of schedule, so that's really amazing. Where we're standing here today actually used to be the furniture factory and the print shop. And we, in 2014, we walked in here and with the folks at CalCitra and said, we want to start a coding program at a tech center. And we did that, and we launched the first coding program in a U.S. prison here in this facility. At the time, there was a thick wall and a big door to get to this facility. Today, that wall is gone, and the door is now a monument that you'll see in the atrium area here. This really was a transformation. And the governor in 2023 announced that he wanted to take that nugget of transformation and build an environment of collaboration, community, and hope. The old building is gone, certainly, but what we have here today is going to change corrections in the United States. You know, our program is across the country. We're in a lot of states. There's nothing that compares to this anywhere in this country. So, you know, there's if you go into our classrooms, and I hope you do and tour, you'll see signs that said, believe in the process. And that really did epitomize this program and this project. And I'm proud to say that The Last Mile has played a critical role in building the infrastructure. So now we'll have access points throughout this building, outside, and in the old death row area. So people can take their laptops and they can log on from anywhere in this facility. So you'll have the ability to log on to a customized, if you're part of this platform, you can log on to a customized learning management system, do virtual instruction, have a help desk, and be part of our, most importantly, our employer pipeline. This really will maximize the utilization of this space, and it could potentially reduce wait lists, which is a big problem. We're happy to say that at the launch of this facility next month, we'll have 4 programs that will be on the platform: Canine Companions, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, GRIP, and the People in Blue. So I truly believe that the impact of this rehabilitation center will have a significant return on investment, not only here in California, but across the country. And I don't know where Lieutenant Barry is, but she's going to be busy. There she is. Because, thank you. I see Sam Robinson there. Hey, Sam. Yeah. Sam is the OG here. Sam helped us get started, so I want to give him credit for that. But, there's been a lot of trips to Norway. There's not going to be any trips to Norway anymore to see what tree rehabilitation. They just need to come to San Quentin. So it's my honor, actually, to introduce Governor Newsom. And he has been such a supporter of me, our program, a friend. He's been to our demo days. He's really been someone who supported us throughout. I actually got to know him at the gym. I'd show up at 6:30, and there would be the governor. Not the governor at the time. This is a couple decades ago, I think. And I walked up to him today, and I grabbed his arm, and I'm like, dude, you're still pumping some iron. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our beloved Governor, Gavin Newsom.
Thank you. I'm glad we got that out of the way. If you want, look, I appreciate the energy, the spirit, the sense of pride and purpose that unite everybody here today. And I'm grateful for the remarkable turnout. And I'm grateful as well to see so many faces we saw in March of 2023 when we launched this idea and promoted a sense of idealism that we could do better, we could do more. Inspired by programs around the rest of the world, a mindset that suggested that, success leaves clues. There was power of emulation. And that our job was to do more, but also be more open to change, be more data-driven, focus on innovation, focus on reform, focus on improving results. It was always about public safety. It was always about community safety. It was about, yes, being smart on crime. You can say smart as well as tough on crime. Was not about the old binaries. It was just about pragmatism. It was about dealing with the fundamental fact that 95% of people in this system are going to go back into your neighborhood. And what kind of neighbors do you want them to be? Tens of thousands of people every single year are being released from the system, up 30,000+ every single year. Are they coming back broken? Are they coming back better? Are they coming back more enlivened, more capable? Are they coming back into prison? Over and over this cycle, and over and over and over and over again. We needed to break that cycle. So we needed to break down, yes, the physical wall, but we also needed to break down the mindset that frankly had put us in this box since 1852. And box is the operative word. The angles, the design, the mindset that had frankly trapped us in the old ways of doing things. And the mindset needed to be stretched as well. We didn't want to pave over the old cow path. We didn't want a new modern version of the old system. And so we're very blessed, and I just feel it needs to be highlighted. The architects, the designers, their willingness to think anew so that we can ultimately act anew in Tanisha's framework and take these community conversations and manifest them and make them real. Yes, it's about colors. And it's about sounds in the context of people coming in and total shock and awe that this is about to happen. And we saw that firsthand with some of the folks that literally walked in today, inmates that hadn't seen the other side of this fence, that saw the wall come down, but never imagined what would be produced and conceived here. And so to McCarthy and the team, they talk about government inefficiency. And Chris just said it. It came in under time, 30-ish months to get this done. I also threatened the hell out of them if they didn't get it done before I was gone. But they did that and on budget, which is just shows what can be done in very difficult circumstances. It's not easy to work in these environments, but it is about changing environments, about changing minds, and it's ultimately about the power now that we have to promote a different mindset and to promote this across the rest of the system. And so this is the idea. It's part of the controversy of this as well. That's why I think it's even more. That's why I'm even more prideful of this moment. There was some that just wanted us to, I don't know, like peanut butter, just spread it out. If you're going to spend a few $100 million, just spread it out over the entire system. But then it wouldn't have felt like nothing. It felt like something, but really nothing. And you couldn't see it. You couldn't believe it. Your mind is not going to necessarily be stretched. It's nice that we added a barbecue here, maybe a bench there, and there's a few extra. It just didn't feel like that was going to be the answer. That's been the approach in the past. We needed to be smash mouth. We needed to do something bold and big. We needed to do something that literally would people go, wait a second. And all of a sudden now, we've stretched their minds about what can be done in other parts of the state. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of facilities waiting for this kind of investment. And the community, again, is the biggest beneficiary. And so, again, gratitude to the team that brought it together, to Darrell Steinberg, who immediately said, yes, and what more I can do. And that was not easy, because there were a lot of cynics about this. There was a lot of prior promotion about reforming our prison system. And he said, Valley State's nice, some good work being done. Can we get Butnick involved? I said, of course. You're not going to have a choice. And can we get Bree involved? And we had Doug involved, and Tanish and others. And all of a sudden, this team started to gel together. And I'll never forget that presentation. You guys came up with the first charrettes, and I think there were 44 recommendations, 240 action items. I'm like, this is getting real. And so did our efforts to get this through the legislature. Christina Arari's here, my ledge director. Thank you for all your hard work and stewardship. To Ann Patterson, who made this. She's standing in the back because she getting all like me. I think 2 or 3 times today we were like, I'm fine. I'm fine. Walking away because it is emotional. To go back to the East Block, what was the largest death row in the Western Hemisphere. Just remarkable. And when we announced, there was, I think, 737 people condemned inmates when we announced here in 2023. And to see that process of conversion, that will be the next big event that we invite you all to see. And that progress is more than halfway done over there. To see the progress in the upper yard as well as we start to open up those space, tripling the size of the educational and rehabilitation programs, tripling, 81,000 square feet. The opportunity to see the Bay, open air classrooms right up top, and to start connecting that sense of humanity and hopefulness is what this is all about. So again, I'm very proud of this. I live down the road, so I've been driving by this and seeing the hard hats as they're coming in every day, and it's just it's really wonderful. I haven't been here in it's been about a year, and I've been here a dozen plus times, and I took a little break because I wanted to see more progress, and I've seen it. And so to all of you, to the warden, it's about leadership. He could have sabotaged this. He could have dragged his feet. He could have said one thing to me and then said something very different to everybody else, saying guys like that Newsom, they come and go, right? He's going to be termed out or we're going to kick him out. And I didn't hear any of that behind my back. And nor was CCPOA. And that's a big damn deal. Because, with respect to the people that bash this union, they're wrong. These guys have stepped up. And I don't know what other, correctional unions are doing across the country, but they ain't like ours. These guys stepped up. They went to Norway. They saw what this is about, and I want to close on that. It's about their members. You want to come into a tough environment, the mental health that so many of the staff are struggling with, coming back home and not ever being able to unsee what they saw at work, feeling that anxiety and stress. And, sometimes you put a mask on and your face grows into it. And sometimes they become bitter and harder people. And this opens them up, cracks folks open in a way that humanizes relationships, and it's all about relationships. And so I'm just really grateful to your team and for your willingness to step up and enlighten leadership like a district attorney from San Francisco that gets it and also gets things done. And that's the final point I'll make. You know, the new crime numbers just came out. You know, 12% violent crime below the major city police chiefs association data, below pre-pandemic levels. Last year, homicides down 18%, robberies down 19%, just last year. Continue to make progress, continue to make investments on vertical prosecution, accountability, absolutely. More support in the CHP and others. We're doing that, but you can do both things at the same time. And we're proving that here in California. So again, long-windedly, I say thank you. Thank you for giving us a space. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity. This wouldn't happen unless people are willing to make it happen. And finally, to the legislature. They had our back. We had to come back a few extra times to convince them it was the right thing to do. But I also want to thank the prior pro tem and current leadership, but the prior leadership that really made sure that we stewarded the funds, got this done at the same time. So all of you, thank you. Wish you all were outside for the ribbon cutting. The ribbon was kind of walking around, but it was a wonderful thing, and we're looking forward to tearing down this fence in a few weeks and seeing this sense of optimism community take shape in an organic way, because at the end of the day, it's all about people. So thank you all very, very much for being here, and thank you for the progress. Thank you. You're good to go. Anyway, well, thanks. Yeah. By the way, who was here when we kicked this off a few years back? You were, yeah. Okay, you were like the one. Huh? Happened, man. Yeah. No, it's. I'm very, very proud of the progress here, and again, I cannot impress upon you more. This is all about public safety. Period. Full stop. And it's about dealing with reality cards that are dealt. And I do think the fundamental purpose is around answering the question, what kind of neighbor do you want when someone comes back home, comes back into the community from this system, which is one of the largest systems in the world, not just the United States of America. So we have an outsized role to play in terms of promoting progress and a different approach, a different mindset. And so now we've got the physical manifestation of that, and now we got to do the work. Now it's all about programming. It's all about proving ourselves, not just asserting this paradigm. And that's going to be a big part of this, data-driven focus, outcome-driven, and we will iterate. And so we've got folks out here and so many folks in the criminal justice reform space that will be monitoring the success of this or the failure. What we're promoting to hold us to a higher level of accountability over the next few years. And that's what I tell a lot of the folks that will be the beneficiary of these programs. We're counting on you. This is only going to be as successful as you are successful, and how you inspire other folks that may be in the yard but doesn't necessarily want to walk over to the library to join with their own rehabilitation and their own pathway back. So that we're here to answer any questions.
Governor, you took a tour earlier. I'm just curious if there's a specific area that you were impressed with most or something that you're proud of?
Well, I think it's there's an intensity, having visited death row on multiple occasions and being there when with the condemned population, where hundreds and hundreds of the condemned population were not too long ago, and walking into one of the cells, which I did not do in the past, and trying to sort of square that reality, the largest condemned block, and as I said, in the Western Hemisphere. That's pretty intense. I did the moratorium on the death penalty because I couldn't kill someone else. I can't do that. It's state-sanctioned murder in that respect. You walk into the old chamber, there's literally a phone that says Governor on top of it. When you see that, it's one thing to intellectualize that, and you're the governor, and the idea that that's the last phone call someone's going to make, and you say, execute, couldn't do that, can't. I met with victims of some of the condemned inmates who said, you don't have the right to take the life of someone else in the name of my daughter. That really hit me. I'll never forget that meeting that I had before I made the decision. Others were very critical, and I'm deeply mindful of that, and there's grace in that as well. But I think to me that, under Prop 66, we moved the condemned inmates out, and we're converting that into an honor facility, an honor yard. And that's symbolic and substantive. It's one thing, obviously, the kitchen and these facilities, but that to me hits home in a deeper, very human way.
Governor, in regard to social media restrictions that you may be pushing, are you concerned that enacting age limits will restrict teens' freedom of speech?
Yeah, look, as I said, we've got legislative pathways that we're processing. I had extended conversations with the Prime Minister of Spain. They're trying to answer those questions in advance. They've just proposed an idea. They're trying to figure out how to actually implement it. We were talking about the success and some of the challenges with representatives in Australia and how they enforce it. So there's a lot of complexity in here, including answering that question. So yes, across the board. But one thing I know, and I'll say it again, as a father of a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old daughter and two sons, this is the most anxious generation in history. They're less happy. They're less free. In many cases, less confident. And I think there's a connection. And so I do think it's something that we need to consider, and I appreciate the leadership of the state. Going back years and years and years, we pushed the envelope, but we have more work to do. And so I'm looking forward to answering those difficult questions and processing this over the course of the next few months. No, I'll defer that to the warden in terms of the details.
Yeah. Hi, question one more time.
Just to make sure, are there, let's say, the formerly condemned and LWOP inmates or any other classification inmates here at San Quentin that are not eligible for these services?
Life without parole is ineligible for this, but we hope to be the trendsetters. We're doing this to establish that we can make it work at any prison. So there's other institutions doing great things. Corcoran's got something going on. Valley's got something going on. This is just larger scale, so hopefully we can move it to other institutions.
So anyone below LWOP is eligible here?
Correct.
Governor, you guys said public safety starts here, right? The prisons, and you guys want the inmates, residents to be forgotten by the community. But just last year, we saw how 2 inmates killed another inmate in Salinas State Valley. Salinas State Prison. He was stabbed 180 times. The video was leaked by a staff member, and it's seen and reproduced millions of times on social media. So what's being done to protect and ensure inmates and residents' safety inside state prisons and rehabilitation centers?
Well, this is a big part of it, but Warden lives this in a very different reality. Warden, maybe you can answer a little bit in terms of the approach you guys take and the challenges. You've seen it all, and you've not just been here at San Quentin.
I'll talk about San Quentin. What we know is humanity is safety. So when we reduce the this versus us versus them mentality, that's what causes that. So you see a lot of retaliation. So we've seen our violence drop. We've seen our recidivism drop by offering more programs. So we know for a fact when we keep individuals busy doing positive things that they're going to be positive too. So the key is keeping your foot on the gas though. I think if we go back to the old ways, I think sometimes they put us against them, and we have this mentality that we shouldn't like each other, and that's not true. So it starts with places like this that show that we have common ground and humanity, and that will be safety for all.
Governor, your response to
And forgive me one second.
So my name's Eric Allen, juvenile lifer, work for the San Quentin News. So I have a two-sided question for you. We see that there's physical changes happening here in this prison, but what is the long-term vision behind them, and what should success actually look like for someone serving time here 5 or 10 years from now? And how many of us, many of us are doing programming and education and rehabilitation programming work around here, and how is the efforts meant to translate into real outcomes like parole decisions, sentencing reductions, and early releases?
So I've got a lived reality where I can answer this question perhaps very differently than most. There's not a week that goes by where I'm not making parole decisions, and I individually read every single one of these files. It's hundreds and hundreds of hours. You talk about all these candidates for governor. I think that should be one of the litmus test questions. That never came up when I ran for governor. I didn't understand that responsibility. I didn't. It was an intellectual consideration, and it was a passing thought until those first rounds of applications showed up. In the past, governors have just simply rejected all the recommendations of parole. They didn't read one of them. That was very recent. The last governor was one who really started to shift in terms of that mindset, raised the bar in terms of expectations. But I'll tell you, for me, you raise the bar of opportunity to get released when I look first and foremost, I look at the programming. I look at in-prison behavior. First thing, if you've got 20 violations, I want to know how recent they are. I want to know if you've figured things out. I want to make sure you've debriefed from any gang affiliation. I want to know how many things you've enrolled in. I'm not looking for A's, B's, or C's, D's. I don't care. I care about effort and focus. And the challenge is so many places they don't have that opportunity. And so they're just stuck in limbo. Here now that opportunity becomes more abundant and people can prove themselves. And so I cannot impress upon you, as a governor the last 7 years doing thousands of these. There'll be another couple hundred in March that I will look at, including commutations, looking at pardons as well, but commutations in particular. I want to know you're committed to rehabilitation. I want to know that you're not been disciplined dozens and dozens of times. Doesn't mean you're immediately rejected, because God bless, the discipline comes in many different forms and circumstances. And so that's a huge part of giving people hope that they're not fixed and stuck on the basis of somebody else's time clock. And so that's the mindset. That's what, to me, success looks like. More and more people gravitating to their own journey, their own personal reform. It's not forced on you, because then it's fake, man. If it's coerced, I don't buy it. And what I love about the East Block is what they're doing in the East Block, just to paint a picture, and this is not for anyone's edited attribution because no editors back at the studio could care. But those doors are going to be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And you got your own washing machine. You want your clothes washed, you wash them. You want to get something to eat, you can do it whenever. It's not right now. Everybody line up. You have to, and all of a sudden it's like you're starting to make decisions for yourself. Self-start. It's called life. It's a life a lot of folks have forgotten 20, 30 years later. And you come back home, you're like, well, why isn't someone telling me, where's my toilet paper? Well, no, you got to go buy it. And so that's the shift, and that's what we're bringing here. And so that, reentry starts here, man, in the mindset. You got to shift. So when you come out, you're at peak, man. It's like a sprinter running a 100-yard dash. You're at peak. You're not just starting up. And so, forgive me the long-windedness, but that's the way we've been thinking about this. And it's all about this California model. And we rolled that out about 7 years ago. I mentioned Valley State, and I don't want to diminish Valley State, but it's a point of pride. And I've been there on multiple occasions. We like the progress we're making there. But I felt like, God, we could do something bigger at scale. So we're trying to bring this throughout the prison system, and I hope whoever the next governor is committed to that. Take the baton. And again, be iterative. Have some humility. Something's not working, fix it. No one's fixed it. It's not an ideological endeavor. This is not left or right. This is just being smart and pragmatic. And I believe people are not the worst thing they've done. I don't think the worst thing. That's not who you are. The worst thing you did. And that's always been my mindset, man. And it's a belief system that sort of explains the why we're here and why we give a damn. Could have spent this money on anything else, man. And took a lot of grief. We still do. Why is he wasting money on these guys? Well, we get that all the time. But folks came here. I think they get it.
Mr. Governor, hey, thank you so much, first of all, for this follow-up opportunity today that you invited us back here. I remember.
Yeah, hold me accountable.
Well, thanks. So congratulations, and forgive me for two off-topic questions here. First, I want to give you an opportunity to react to the big news of the day from the U.S. Supreme Court ruling against President Donald Trump and his tariffs, number one. Number two, this question comes from our CBS and NBC affiliate in Fresno. As for the changes you made to the CPUC, what is the vision you have for the California Public Utilities Commission and moving forward also on utilities and affordability in California?
Well, and I appreciate the question on the PUC. We just announced a new chair of the PUC. We also promoted his resume and his work to look at the issue of costs, particularly as it relates to electric bills. And that's our top focus. It's been a focus that was advanced with the Cap and Invest program, where we set aside $60 billion between now and 2045 for rebates for electricity bills. It also animated our regionalization, a plan that 11 years we worked on. We finally got it done. That will save over $1 billion a year in terms of ratepayer costs associated with regionalizing our grid and allowing more of our wind and solar to be exported when it's not needed in the state of California, and allow us more reliability of imports to address some of the variabilities and vulnerabilities in our grid. And so those were two proof points. But he wants to take it to the next level, really get under the hood at all of the additional costs that we've stacked up on the bills over many, many years. A lot of it well conceived, but no longer necessarily doing the job that they need to do, and how we can start to remove some of those burdens and some of those costs to claw back the cost of the bill. As it relates to the tariffs were illegal from day one. We were in Fresno. We were the first state. I was the first governor to announce the lawsuit with Attorney General Bonta on the illegal tariffs under the emergency authority that Donald Trump was asserting. Shocking to me that 3 members of the Supreme Court actually agreed with Donald Trump. There's nothing in the International Economic Emergencies Power Act that gives the President of the United States unilateral authority to impose a tax increase on ranchers, on farmers, on small businesses, on you and me. Donald Trump should return that money immediately. He has an obligation, $1,751 per family, that were taxed by Donald Trump. He took hundreds of billions of dollars from working folks, from the ag community, from small businesses, for this vanity play, this illegal action. And he finally was held to account. The rule of law won out. And what did Donald Trump do? He had a tantrum today, and he decided to tax you all again across the board, 10% across the board under some new authority. He's unhinged. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged. Even his hand-picked Supreme Court said what he was doing was lawless. And I'll end on this, because this is important. It was a coercive policy that has produced what result? You saw GDP growth in the fourth quarter. GDP has now declined under the Trump administration. Unemployment has gone up under the Trump administration. Manufacturing jobs have gone down under the Trump administration. His entire theory of the case is falling apart. And this, the most regressive sales tax in modern American history. Finally, that will come to an end. Pay us back. Put that money back in the pockets of working families and the American people.
Last question.
Can you just talk a little bit about the metrics of success for this rehabilitation facility? You said, data-driven, but
yeah.
Where will you gather that data? How will you gather it? Maybe the work.
Yeah, we have a whole team of folks. This is what they do in the advisory committee, and we got the district attorney here too, and she's all about data, and she's got some good. We never had the kind of data when I was mayor and Kamala was DA that you have in San Francisco. But talk about a little bit of that. I mean, you've got all the statistics on rehabilitation and what's working, what's not. But let's talk a little bit more specifically about what you both kind enough to be here expect.
Yeah, we are always tracking recidivism rates. We are looking at those who are parolees who are coming out and whether or not they are recidivating and ending up back in our system. How many parole violations? That is all data that we track. And while we may not be able to track it specifically out of this one center, we can certainly track it and do track it out of particular facilities and in our county. So those are all the things that we will continue to look at to see. Is the programming working? Are the support services and reentry services there that are necessary to help people be successful even once they are released? And so that is a big part of our metric to see if everything that we are doing is facilitating people being successful.
And Warren, you guys, talk a little bit more about how you guys measure success.
Well, we have a long road. We changed the name of San Quentin State Prison to the San Quentin Rehabilitation Center in January of 2024, and now we have this building for more space, right? So being a rehabilitation center is our primary goal. So we want people to come here. First, we want to prove that San Quentin Rehabilitation Center is just that. It's the next level. It's the next step. And when you come here, you're ready to go home either on a parole board date or your release date, but you're ready to enter society. We have the Office of Policy and Research that collects all of our data, and we're continuing to look with other stakeholders to fine-tune that data.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Media will do a tour right after this. So you'll